Hi everyone, this video is going to show you how to search and access journal articles using Pace Library databases and Google Scholar. To start, we'll start at the Pace Library homepage, which is available at Library.Pace.edu. On the library homepage, there's this search widget in the middle of the page, and we're going to go to the Databases tab. If you know the name of the database that you would like to search, you can of course go in alphabetically. If you're not sure where to start, you can use the subject menu over here on the left. So for example, in this case, I'll go to the subject menu and I'll select Education. This will automatically pull up all the databases that the Pace Library subscribes to that contain articles or materials in the field of education. So we're going to start with the one right at the top that says Best Bets, Eric via EBSCO. So EBSCO is a company that we buy research databases from. They happen to sell us a few different databases that contain publications that might be of use to folks in the field of education. Because we buy them all from the same company, you can set it up so that you search them simultaneously. So this will save you some time when you're searching for articles. So we went in through Eric via EBSCO. So Eric is the name of this particular database. Now we can add in the other databases that we buy from this company called EBSCO. To do that, above the search boxes, you can see here it says Searching Eric. If you click on Eric, it opens up a pop-up window where you can now add additional databases to your search. So I would recommend that you add education abstracts. So that's another education database. And then I would also recommend that you add something called professional development collection. You might need to scroll to see all your options here. This database also has publications for people who are teaching. Something else you might want to consider, and it really depends on your research question, is adding in the APA PsycInfo database. So this is psychology journals. It does also contain school psychology journals. So really, depending on your research question, you may or may not want to add that one. That's up for you. You can decide to do that. Once you've selected all the databases that you want to search, down at the bottom, click on Select. Now our search screen will reload, and you can see here at the top above the search boxes, it says Searching Eric and 2 more. So now you can see that we're searching those 3 databases simultaneously. So now that we're ready to start searching, we need to think about what search terms we're going to use. So we recommend you take a look at your research question, identify the main terms in your research question, and then go from there. So in this case, I'm going to use an example on caring or compassion or empathy in teaching. So in my first search box, I'm going to type caring or empathy, and then you can see the database starts to make a suggestion, caring or empathy or compassion, and I like that, and I'm going to choose that. So something we need to talk about is the word or. So the word or tells the database that any of those is good. We're giving the database multiple options. It's going to find all the articles containing the word caring, all the articles containing the word empathy, all the articles containing the word compassion. So I'm going to start with this big set of results. In the second search box, I'm going to type my second concept, which is pedagogy. And you can see that it starts to make some suggestions here. So here's pedagogy or teaching strategies, or teaching methods. So these could be related terms or synonyms that we may also want to search. I'm actually going to take out the or teaching. That's a little too general for me. I'm going to go with pedagogy or teaching strategies or teaching methods. So the database is now going to find all of the articles containing any of those terms and create that set. This drop down here gives you some additional Boolean options, but in this case, it's default to the word and, which is good. They do this on purpose. So they give you multiple search boxes connected with the word and. What this tells the database is to find me the articles that contain at least one of these terms from the first box and at least one term from the second box. So this is kind of an advanced approach approach to building a search. You certainly don't have to do this, but it's a strategy I'm recommending to you that it makes a little more efficient use of your time. Something else you can think about at this point is if you have a phrase like teaching strategies or teaching methods, you can decide, or you can try this, putting quotation marks around the phrase. This is really for 2 or 3 word phrases. What this tells the database is to look for those 2 words together in that order. It's a way of focusing your search on that exact phrase. Now, 5 years ago, I would have told you to do that would be more effective than not doing it. Now, though, the search interfaces are getting a little bit better, and I don't always recommend the quotation marks around exact phrases. So that's something that I would recommend. You can try it with, you can try it without. See what works best for your research question, for your search terms. All right, I've got my search built, and I'm going to click on search over here on the bottom right, and I'm going to see what we get. So again, I'm searching the 3 databases simultaneously, and I know it's a little small, but here it says results 5,986, so that's a lot. We're going to narrow that down though, so don't worry. The first way, or the best ways, or the main ways you can narrow your result list down is using these filters that are here right across the top of your search results page. So there's a number of filters that I think that you'll need to consider. Under source type, just so you know, you can see we have academic journals, reports, dissertations, magazines, books, and you can see it even says there's 5 more categories of sources. In this case, we're really looking just at journal articles. So we can click to limit just to academic journals and then click apply. Now, another level to academic journals would be the peer-reviewed button. So they've broken this one out separately, and it's right here in the filter menu. We can choose that one as well, and it may or may not change that number. So it dropped out just a few, but doing both of those, academic journals, peer-reviewed, really brings you the highest level of journal article in any of these databases. Something else you will probably want to consider is when were the articles published. So there is this little shortcut menu that the default is all time, and they've given you some shortcuts here. I'm going to choose past 5 years. Now there is a way to do a custom publication date search. To do that, you would use the all filters button up here at the top. And you can see that that opens up a more detailed filtering menu on the right. And if I open up publication date, you can see there's a place there where I could do a custom date range if I wanted to. I'm going to go ahead and just use that 5-year filter though. And that gives me 1,427 articles. I could start going through and looking at some of these and deciding, are these what I'm interested in? Another concept that you'll probably need to consider though is the level of education. So for example, here's a journal article that talks about nursing postgraduate education. Maybe I am more interested in elementary education, so I would need to build that into my search. So just so that you can see this and you can do this, up at the top, right below on the right, there's this search box is showing us the search that we typed in. I can click on advanced search and it will take me back here to my search. So I can decide, okay, I'm going to type in elementary or early childhood. And again, it's making suggestions for you. I'm going to go ahead and take that, but then edit it. I'm going to search elementary or early childhood education. So, and now I will run my search again, and we should get, and we do, a much smaller number. So 258. I would recommend double check your filters at the top. Make sure that your peer-reviewed academic journal filters are still chosen. Make sure your publication date filter is still chosen, just to double check. And you can see they are. So now I have my 258 results. This is a more manageable number. I could start now to skim through here and see what's available. So I'm going to start to scroll, and you can see that they're all labeled peer-reviewed academic journal, which is great because I made that choice in the filters. My search terms are highlighted in yellow, which is kind of nice. It shows you why these articles came up in my list of results. And these are actually in what's called relevance order. You can see the little sort menu over here on the right. So it's bringing, the databases are bringing what they think are the best articles to the top of the list. So how do we get the articles? As you're scrolling, you can see that the article titles are there. You see author names, you see in early childhood education, that's the journal. You can see the publication year. You can start to see the abstract. You can click to open up more of the abstract, which is a summary of the article. You can also click to open up more of the subjects assigned to an article. And the subjects and the abstracts are a good place to look for additional search term ideas. Every article in the database somebody has looked at and has decided what it's about, and they have assigned subjects to the articles. You could click to search, or you can kind of jot those down or make note of those, or go back and edit and add them to your search. It's just another good place to look for additional search terms that you might want to try. So we're going through, we're scrolling through, we're trying to, are these good? Are these going to be helpful for our research? We would read the abstract. That would help us decide. If we decide that something is of interest to us, you can see that there's this little menu right below the abstract. And in many cases, it says access options. And if I click on that, I have PDF and I have online full text. So this one is available as a PDF file, and then it's also available as a plain text file. And you can see here's the article. When I'm viewing the full text, up at the top right, I have options to get the citation for the article. I can share it, which is where I would be able to email it to myself if I wanted to email it to myself. You can download it. You can print it. So you have lots of options to capture this article. I'm going to go back, and that'll take me back to my list of results. When you click on an article title and you're looking at the information about the article, you'll again see the abstract, you'll see the subjects. You do also have the options here to get the APA citation. That's that little quote icon. You just have to switch to APA citation. And again, you can share, which would mean you could email it to yourself, save it to Google Drive, you could download it. So you do have those options here as well. Now for some of the articles, so for a lot of the articles, you see access options, and that means that the full text is immediately available, which is great. But for some of the articles, you see instead that there's this button that says search for item. So that does, you start to see that, and also just so you see it's showing me 10 results first, but if I click show more results, that will pull up additional. You can keep browsing through this list of articles. So as you can see, a lot of these, or some of these say search for item, and many of them say access options. So if we decide that we want to pursue one of the ones that says search for item, you just click on that button. And what that does is it opens up a new tab in another window. What it's doing is it's trying to determine, do we have this article full text somewhere else? So we don't have it from the EBSCO company, but we might have it somewhere else. If we do have it somewhere else, it will give you a link to the article. Okay. In this case, however, and I wanted you to see this, we do not have this one. So this says resources located for this citation. Submit a request for materials outside the library collection. And you can see there are two links here. Pleasantville and New York City patrons, that's you, no matter where you are, request using Iliad for interlibrary loan. The other link is for the law school, so please don't use that one. So click on Pleasantville and New York City patron. Log in with your PACE username and password, and this is our Iliad interlibrary loan system. We will get this article for you as a PDF file. It takes 24 to 48 hours, so please plan accordingly. Usually nothing happens over weekends and holidays, so just keep that in mind. All you have to do is scroll down and click Submit Request, and the interlibrary loan staff will find the article for you, and they will email you when it's available. there will be a link in that email where you can download the article. So that's the option when you don't have immediate full text available. Always click on that search for item button. If it finds the full text in another PACE database, it will give you a link to it. If it does not find the full text, it will give you a link to request the article on interlibrary loan. Okay, so this is searching in the PACE library databases, and we built a pretty complex search. We found results. We saw how to get the APA citation. We saw how to email it to yourself. We saw how to download it. We looked at the search for item button. You now know how to use ILLiad Interlibrary Loan. So you're pretty set to use the PACE library databases and locate articles. Another option I do want to just briefly talk about is Google Scholar. To me, Google Scholar is just another database in my toolkit of research databases. It is a pretty good place to look for journals in the field of education, so I would recommend you could search here as well. I would also recommend that when you are a student at Pace University, you can set up Google Scholar so it knows that, and it gives you links to the full text articles that we have available. When you're in Google Scholar, there's the menu at the top left here. You want to open up your settings, and then within the Google Scholar settings, you want to go to library links. Now mine is already set up. If you have not done this already, you would search for Pace University. So search Pace University, and everything that comes up, select it and then save. And now your Google Scholar is set to give you links to the full text articles that the PACE library has. So if I do a quick search, whoops, let's spell that right. Typos are the enemy of online searching. Empathy and pedagogy and early childhood education. We'll just do a quick search. As you start to go through your list of results, here on the right, you can see the full text at PACE-U. That's showing you how we have set up these links. So now you have the links to get those articles. Now, for some of the articles in Google Scholar, you don't see that full text link, and many times when you click on an article title in Google Scholar, you hit a paywall at the journal website. Do not pay for these articles. You don't have to. You have access to use the interlibrary loan system even when you're finding articles listed in Google Scholar. So for example, this article from Pedagogy, Empathy, and Praxis, PACE Library does not have it in full text, but you can still request it. If you go to the library homepage at Library.Pace.edu, under quick links on the right, you do see Interlibrary Loan. Click PACE ILLiad Login. It'll ask you to log in with your PACE username and password. I already did, so that's why it didn't ask me this time. Under New Request Article, I get the blank request form. So now I can just go back and forth from the journal website, put in the journal title, the article title, the publication date, the author's name, etc., and you can submit a request manually. So you do have the option to use interlibrary loan even if you are in Google Scholar. It's just you have to fill out the form manually. So when you're in Google Scholar, use the Google settings menu, set up your library links to Pace University, and then you'll have the PACE full text links when you run your search. So if you have any questions about anything you saw in this video today, please contact us using the Ask a Librarian button on the library homepage at Library.Pace.edu, and we would be happy to help.